When did you last truly see someone for who they really are, beyond the trappings of their worldly position? In our modern world of carefully curated social media personas and manicured public images, we often forget a fundamental truth that Freemasonry has long taught. Authentic human connection can only occur when we meet each other as equals in spirit. In the stonemason's craft, the level serves as both a practical tool and profound teacher. Like the master craftsman who uses this instrument to ensure his work stands true, Freemasonry offers us time-tested wisdom for building genuine relationships on the foundation of human equality. So in this edition of Daily Masonic Progress, I will share 3 transformative insights from our ancient craft. First, we'll explore how the level reveals profound truths of human equality. Second, we'll examine how the Masonic practice of meeting on the level transforms relationships. And finally, we'll uncover practical ways to apply this wisdom that go beyond the lodge room. But before we can fully grasp these transformative teachings, we must first confront a crucial question. In an age where worth is increasingly measured by social media metrics and material success, what barriers prevent us from meeting one another as equals? So let's consider an operative stonemason. Even a slight deviation from a level ground can compromise an entire structure. Similarly, in our relationships, subtle inequalities can undermine our connections in ways we might not immediately recognize. We must first understand these obstacles before we can properly address them. 3 particular challenges merit our careful attention. First is the illusion of digital distinction. Just as a false level might deceive the eye while leading to unstable construction, today's social media landscape creates illusionary hierarchies that destabilize authentic connection. We construct these elaborate digital personas, carefully selected vacation photos, meticulously staged family portraits, and carefully calculated career achievements. And these serve as modern substitutes for supposed true character. It's these curated narratives that don't just mask our authentic selves, they create artificial elevations and depressions in our social landscape. We find ourselves constantly measuring our worth against these manufactured standards, forgetting that, like a master craftsman's level, nature herself demonstrates that such distinctions are artificial. You see, the sun rises with equal brilliance on both the modest apartment and the luxury penthouse. But then there is the weight of worldly distinctions. Within our lodges, Freemasons experience the profound truth that authentic brotherhood requires us to set aside our outer markers of status. Yet in daily life, we often allow these same distinctions, our job titles, our material possessions, what car we drive, what clothes we wear, what brands we have, to create a social status, to create an uneven ground in all of our relationships. So consider how we might just subtly adjust our behavior when speaking with someone of perceived higher or even lower status. These unconscious adjustments are like small deviations from true level, barely noticeable at first, but ultimately preventing the construction of genuine connection. And this is all because of the fear of equal ground, because perhaps the most challenging is our own resistance to meeting others as equals. To truly meet on the level, it requires vulnerability, a willingness to be seen without protective scaffolding of social status or material success. And like the apprentice mason who must learn to trust his tools, we must develop confidence in this fundamental principle, that human dignity transcends all outer circumstances. It's this resistance that often manifests in subtle ways. We might maintain careful distance in our relationships, staying safely elevated or comfortably subordinate, rather than risking the vulnerability of being on equal ground. Yet Masonic wisdom teaches that true brotherhood can only exist between equals, not in a worldly status, but in mutual respect and dignity. So having recognized these challenges to authentic connection, how might we apply the wisdom of our craft to overcome them? Well, within the ancient craft of Freemasonry, each working tool reveals profound truths about human nature and personal development. In this instance, the level in particular offers three fundamental principles that, when properly understood and applied, transform how we relate to one another. First is the architecture of equality. You see, in operative masonry, the level reveals true horizontal alignment, a state where no point stands higher or lower than another. This simple yet profound function teaches us about the natural equality that exists among all people. Consider how the level works. It doesn't force alignment through external pressure, but rather reveals what is already true. Similarly, Masonic teachings don't attempt to artificially equalize all aspects of human life. Instead, they help us recognize the inherent dignity that exists in every person, regardless of external circumstances. And within our lodges, this principle manifests in powerful ways. When we enter these sacred spaces, Masons set aside outer distinctions of wealth and status. And it's this practice, it isn't about denying the reality of different talents or abilities or even achievements, but rather it acknowledges that beneath these surface variations lies a deeper truth, that we are all subject to the same human condition, things like sharing our hope, our fears, and of course our ultimate destiny. But we also need to meet on common ground. You see, the Masonic practice of meeting on the level extends far beyond physical posture. It describes a state of mind, an approach to human interaction that recognizes our shared humanity before acknowledging our differences. And this principle teaches us to begin every interaction from a place of fundamental respect. Just as the craftsman must establish level ground before beginning construction, we must approach relationships from a foundation of that mutual dignity, because only then can true authentic connection emerge. Within the lodge, this practice creates profound moments of genuine brotherhood between members who might never be in contact in the outside world. Someone like the CEO and a tradesman, a judge and a janitor, all meet as equals, demonstrating how authentic relationships become possible when we strip away these artificial barriers. And then there's the master's journey, and perhaps most significantly, the level teaches us about personal transformation. You see, every master mason learns that true mastery isn't about elevating oneself above others, but about finding solid and level ground upon which to build genuine connections. It's the recognition that external distinctions, while relevant to social function, don't define human worth. And acceptance that death, that great leveler, ultimately renders all of these worldly distinctions absolutely meaningless. It's these insights that don't diminish the value of personal achievement or the reality of those social structures. Instead, they provide a broader perspective that allows us to navigate these aspects of life while maintaining awareness of our fundamental equality. So having established these core principles, how might we actively apply them to transform our relationships in today's world? Well, operative masons transform rough stone into perfect ashlars, so we too must carefully shape our approach to relationships using the wisdom of the level. So let's explore how to implement these ancient principles into our daily interactions. Just as the craftsman must regularly check his work against the level, we too must examine our relationships for these subtle inequalities, and it's this practice that brings both vigilance and humility. Begin by observing your own reactions to others. Do you speak differently to the service worker than to the executive? Does your posture change when addressing someone perceived at a higher or lower status? And these subtle adjustments, like small deviations from true level, are barely noticeable at first, but ultimately prevent these authentic connections. So the solution lies in conscious practice. Before each interaction, imagine yourself entering the lodge where we all meet upon the level. It's this mental preparation that helps strip away these artificial barriers and allows those genuine connections to emerge. But then we need to build on equal ground. You see, within our lodges, we experience how setting aside these worldly distinctions creates those found moments of authentic brotherhood. And it's this same principle that can transform our daily relationships when applied. So if you begin each interaction by seeking that common ground rather than establishing a relative position, if you listen with equal attention regardless of the speaker's social status, if you share your own vulnerabilities, you'll create genuine connection. Remember, just as the level doesn't eliminate differences in height, but rather reveals them and reveals that true horizontal alignment, These practices don't deny the differences in our ability or achievement. They create the foundation of mutual respect for those relationships to be built. And this creates an enduring structure. You see, the ultimate test of a Mason's work is time. Similarly, relationships built upon the level demonstrate their strength through endurance and depth. And when we consistently apply these principles, some transformations naturally occur. These artificial barriers dissolve and they're replaced by genuine understanding. Our relationships deepen beyond those surface level interactions, and true brotherhood emerges, transcending social boundaries. But most importantly, we begin to experience what we as Freemasons have long understood, that authentic connection becomes possible when we meet each other as equal in spirit. So, in a world of increasingly divided by artificial distinctions, the ancient wisdom of the level offers a path back to authentic human connection. Each time we choose to meet each other as an equal in spirit, we lay one more stone in the foundation of genuine brotherhood. May your journey forward be guided by this timeless wisdom as you build relationships that, like the craftsman's finest work, stand the test of time.
This has been the Daily Masonic Progress Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow us on Spotify or subscribe on Apple Podcasts. The Daily Masonic Progress Podcast is available on all streaming platforms with new episodes every week.